on your Tuesday. I'm forecaster Andrew Fleck for AnalystWXCast.org and the Facebook page. Just doing a pre-storm analysis video here, and we have a snowstorm in the future, folks, and it's going to be affecting the Mid-Atlantic Northeast from Wednesday into Thursday. We're going to sit here and talk about where the heaviest is going to occur, but before we do that, we're going to show you the current radar as of right now. And the first low pressure here, or the first surface low pressure over Georgia, is going to really produce a lot of severe weather today, Tuesday evening and overnight, before diminishing off Florida into that area. There's going to be some tornado watches issued and a few warnings I wouldn't be doubting, as well as a good amount of damage out of that. It'd be very interesting to see what the local reports are from there. And then we're talking about another upper level low over back west over the Tennessee Valley here, and that's going to be a very crucial put to what these two storms eventually do as they move closer to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast coast. Now I'm going to show you the latest model of right now, and I'm going to actually show you the NAM because I want to compare the NAM to some other models. But before I go into that, I want to kind of give you guys the storyline of how, you know, some of us forecast here in one way that I do it. The first handle of what I do is I look at a storm, you know, a week from here, look on the models. If things agree, I can easily say to myself, okay, this area needs to be watched because a storm is hinting on the models for that specific location. I then, about 2 or 3 days before the storm is going to hit, I look at generally the precipitation types, in this case winter, where the rain's going to be falling, where the mix is going to be falling, and then so on and so forth, the snow. And again, you know, now that's confirming. We know where it's going to mix, we know where it's going to rain and snow. Lastly, what we begin to look at, now that we know a storm's going to affect and what type of precipitation is going to fall, we look at where the heaviest is going to occur. And I'm going to show you the NAM model here because I think the NAM is very nicely input with the low pressure, okay, with the omegas or the upper level lifting. Not to say that the NAM is correct, okay, but it really is a good example to, you know, the NAM basically its idea and then compared to other models. And this is again probably for about your early Wednesday. Snow's not yet, or most of that precipitation's not yet into the Mid-Atlantic at its strongest, so it's about early Wednesday. Here's what the imagery illustrates. And again, you have that one low pressure here, okay, the one that's bringing severe weather to Florida currently, and then you have another area here that was once a low pressure over the Tennessee Valley. Now you can kind of see there's a split between the both. You have on this surface low here offshore some precipitation from that, and then you also have some precipitation and better lifting over the Tennessee Valley from an upper level low. What's eventually going to happen is this upper level low is going to lose its characteristics, absorb into the surface low, and all of this precipitation and better lifting is all going to generally get absorbed into that low pressure as well. But it's not just going to cross from west to east here. It's going to have to move northeast with this surface low, and there's going to be a lot of snow over the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast as the day on Wednesday progresses, especially into Wednesday night. The next imagery will just prove that. As you can see here, the precipitation is starting to absorb into the low pressure. There only becomes one low pressure at that time. Now, what I want to go into, and my whole focus on this video, was to show you where the heaviest precipitation is going to go. This map here is showing the heights, the isobars, and the omega lifting, which is how much lift in the atmosphere equaling to you know, the intense precipitation. And of course, the more yellows, oranges, especially pink that you have, is generally where the heaviest snows are probably going to fall, given if there's precipitation, and we know there's going to be a lot of precipitation from this event. So if the NAM is correct here, that precipitation absorbs into the low off the coast. What would then happen, okay, is northwest low pressure is where you would get a pretty intense band of snow forming. And the NAM, like I said, if it's correct, you're going to have pretty good snow from New Jersey, Philadelphia, Baltimore, D.C., Northern Virginia. You're going to be in for a heck of a snowstorm if NAM's correct. And the NAM does not have the low pressure close to the coast, just off the coast, or a little more offshore from some other weather models. Another image from the NAM, okay, then brings that precipitation and that upper lifting now closer to New York City. And of course, notice that the low pressure from the NAM is still off the coast a good amount, really. And you can then see that band starts moving now into Philly, into New Jersey. It's heading into New York City. Okay, and if you really realize the words I've been saying, New York City, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Baltimore, D.C., I've been naming the big cities because the NAM really portrays a brilliant snowstorm for the big cities. But the problem is there's some other models that are saying, hey, the NAM is not correct. The low pressure should be closer to the coast. And if this low pressure is closer to the coast, if this low here is more over here, then you're taking precipitation, okay, in this area right over the big cities, and you're moving that about 50 to 75 miles northwest, really then affecting New York City, southeast New York, Allentown, Reading, Baltimore, D.C. So it really comes to being what area, okay, is going to get affected, and the position of the low pressure is going to be just that. I'm not going to give you a new overlay here, but I'm going to illustrate what some of the other models had. The Euro had the low pressure about here. It gave the big cities and westward a pretty good snow, very similar to this, but of course most of this better lifting was a little bit to the northwest. So you had northwest of the big cities and eastward getting a good amount of snow out of this. Then of course we had the Canadian model, or the CMC. That was very close to the coast, and again that gave the big cities and northwest a good snow, and eastward. And I think the last one that came out was the GEM, and the GEM was really impressive as well, very, very close to the coast. And of course, like I've been saying, the closer to the coast the low pressure is, the more that snow is going to be even more northwest of the big cities. And that could be a worse outcome because we have big northwest of the big cities getting the heavy snow, the big cities getting snow, and then eastward getting heavy snow. So you have a bigger or broader span of a possibility for more than just 6 inches. But if the NAM's right, where the low pressure is more offshore, like this imagery illustrates, it's really the big cities and eastward who get the snow. Now, which one's right? Well, what does not make sense to me is I was looking at the upper level pattern, and the vorticity was not exactly matching with the surface low, and you'd think that the surface low would be closer to the coast, and the NAM might be having an issue with that. So what I'm going to go on and say here is that that low pressure is going to be a little more northwest, and when it's northwest, I do believe that the big cities, I do believe in northwest of the big cities, is going to end up, before this is all said and done, having a pretty good heavy snow event. And the time frame again is going to be Wednesday afternoon. By Wednesday night, it's really bombing out. It's really portraying the heaviest snows across the areas. And then by Thursday morning, it moves out of the Mid-Atlantic and starts retreating to the northeast. And I'll talk about the northeast as we get through with that storm to that location. So as of right now, just take it in. Follow Analyst WXCast Facebook page, the website. We're going to give you updates throughout the storm. We're going to have some photo and video feed throughout the storm, and what also can make it possible if you guys could send some of your own reports and own pictures and photos, which would also be very appreciated. So I'm forecaster Andrew Fleck for AnalystWXCast.org and the Facebook page, signing out. Talk to you later, guys.